Thanks for joining us for CBN News Today. I'm Charlene Aaron. A museum devoted to telling the story of 9/11 opens today, deep beneath Ground Zero in New York. For the next 6 days, survivors, victims' families, and recovery workers will get to visit the museum before it opens to the public on May 21st. Caitlin Burke reports.
The exhibits here tell the stories of the nearly 3,000 people killed in the terror attacks of 9/11, a place of both silence and the sounds of tragedy.
On September 11th.
I'm on the 35th floor, okay?
Okay.
Just relayed to the command post. There's no, we're trying to get up.
The museum reaches 7 stories down, all the way to the bedrock that supported the towers. It's a sacred place, both chilling and heartbreaking.
The museum is a place where you can come to understand 9/11 through the lives of those who were killed and the lives of those who rushed here to help.
The museum houses 10,000 artifacts, stairs that led so many survivors to safety, the cross of steel beams found at Ground Zero, a mangled fire truck.
It's emotional. It's very, very, very emotional.
They have the power to not only honor the dead, but to inspire the living through these exhibits and through this access to this very sacred place.
Among the stories of heroism are snippets about the hijackers, including a brief history of Al-Qaeda. Over the last few weeks, that small part of the museum has come under fire. Islamic activists asking that terms like Islamist extremism and jihadism be removed. The museum has declined. Today's dedication kicks off with a speech from President Obama, along with survivors, victims' families, and first responders. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
Wildfires are still raging through Southern California today. Check out this shocking video of a rare firenado. That's a tornado-like funnel of fire. Record high temperatures and gusty winds unleashed several of these firenadoes. 9 wildfires covering more than 14 square miles have been burning around the southern city of Carlsbad, and a state of emergency has been declared for San Diego. Flames have damaged or destroyed at least 30 homes. Thousands of people were forced to flee their homes, and a number of college campuses were closed. Some 21,000 evacuation notices were sent to residents, and 10,000 students were evacuated from California State University. Another fire blackened 6,000 acres around the Camp Pendleton Marine Base. Firefighters from across the state have been trying to contain the fires.
Wind can change, and all of a sudden it just seems like we're going to be safe, and we're not. So we just packed everything and we're out of there.
I've been doing this 35 years, and this is some of the most radical firefighting I've seen.
Forecasters say calmer winds on Friday may help firefighters battle the blaze. Turning overseas, rescue teams have recovered 8 more bodies from the Soma mine explosion in western Turkey, bringing the death toll to 282. Roughly 150 miners are still trapped, and efforts to reach them are being hindered by a fire still blazing inside the mine. With no miners brought out alive since early Wednesday, hopes of finding any survivors are fading. Meanwhile, in Istanbul and Ankara, violent protests have erupted against the mining company and the government. Officials say there were 787 people inside the mine at the time of the explosion. President Obama's pick to head the Department of Health and Human Services defended the administration's unilateral changes to Obamacare. Sylvia Matthews Burwell was on Capitol Hill yesterday testifying before a Senate committee. She said the rollout delays are a common sense way to implement the law. Burwell pledged to try to regain the misused federal taxpayer dollars spent on failed healthcare websites. She also vowed to be more responsive to the senators, something lawmakers say former HHS Secretary Kathleen Sebelius failed to do. While many Republicans disagree with Burwell's approval of the healthcare law, they still plan to vote in her favor. Well, teachers are now taking up the fight against Common Core. Groups in Chicago, New York State, and Tennessee have come out against the controversial curriculum, and now an Oregon teachers union is joining the fight. The Oregon Education Association wants the state to drop the tests for math and reading next spring, but the state's education chief is refusing to do that. As John Waggy reports, it's all part of the growing battle over Common Core.
Derek is a Hillsboro, Oregon third grader. He's doing his schoolwork in his dad's office.
Focus better.
Derek's brother also studies with Dad, who uses the same material as Common Core, but helps his kids make sense of it.
Here's how you get the actual answer. And it's not time wasting.
real math is quick. You do real math in the real world.
The Oregon Teachers Union objects to the Common Core math and reading tests because of concerns that teachers are still adjusting, so students won't be prepared and many will fail.
You don't get to see what you got wrong, don't even see what you got right.
But the state says the tests will stay because the current bar for students is set too low. This debate is playing out across the nation. All but a handful of the 50 states have adopted the math and reading standards. Liberty University professor Karen Swallow supports Common Core. She says the English standards help children analyze texts.
The Common Core standards are just simply asking students to read texts carefully, understand what a text is saying, and how it is making an argument, which is really important.
But the federal government has tied school funding to Common Core, producing fears of overreach and a loss of local control.
Parents can't get relief from their state officials. They really can't get relief from federal officials in many respects, and they're left with no one to go to.
The conflict over Common Core jumbles the nation's normal political battle lines. Some conservatives support it, others hate it. Liberal teachers groups want it postponed, while liberal bureaucrats insist it stay. In the middle, kids and parents who want a quality education. John Waggy, CBN News.
The investigation continues into the IRS targeting of Tea Party groups. The Washington Times reports the tax agency audited 10% of Tea Party donors. That's much higher than the audit rate of 1% for the average American. Republicans argue the IRS still hasn't come clean about the full extent of its targeting. Investigators last year reported that the IRS singled out Tea Party and other conservative groups applying for tax-exempt status, giving them special scrutiny, including asking inappropriate questions about their activities and membership. Controversy is swirling around the Golden State Warriors' decision to fire coach Mark Jackson, who is an outspoken Christian. Jackson was let go despite having coached the Warriors to 51 wins and a second consecutive NBA playoff appearance. Now, a sports reporter for the San Francisco Chronicle is asking if Jackson's faith had anything to do with his release. Everything about Jackson was under scrutiny, which includes his very public persona as a religious man, writes Ann Killian of sfgate.com. Killian points out that the team owner Rick Welts is openly gay, while Jackson pastors a Christian church and embraces traditional values. Well, critics are blasting the Obama administration after a report that Immigration and Customs Enforcement released 36,000 convicted criminal aliens last year. The immigrants were waiting for their final decisions in their deportation proceedings, so the ICE could have kept them in custody, but they didn't. The Center for Immigration Studies put out the information on the releases. The center's Jessica Vaughn called it shocking and said Obama administration policies have often let political considerations override concerns about safety. North Dakota is defending its new abortion law after a federal judge struck it down. The law made abortions illegal from the moment a doctor detects a fetal heartbeat. A U.S. district judge said the law is invalid and unconstitutional after the state's only abortion clinic sued. North Dakota is appealing that decision. Coming up, the hidden dangers of antidepressants, why some experts say they could be linked to the recent wave of mass shootings.
The American Bible Challenge is back. Premiering May 22nd at 8/7 Central. Jeff Foxworthy is ready to play.
The whole family's gonna love it.
Kurt Franklin's gonna sway.
Are you ready?
And you'll see the Bible in a whole new way.
Don't I look chic? That was impressive.
An all-new season premieres Thursday, May 22nd at 8/7 Central. Only on Game Show Network.
Pat Boone here with some good news you can trust. Today, our faith, families, and our freedoms are under attack. Polls say 2 out of 3 Americans no longer trust government. A stalled economy, weakening dollar, and politicians willing to steal money from our children to waste on unfixable problems. So, whom can you trust? Well, our money still says in God we trust. But do we? Or have we quietly allowed the things we hold sacred to be stolen by the enemies of traditional values? Today, our government spends almost twice its income, running up a tab for future generations into the hundreds of trillions. How can you stop this from happening to your family? Well, it's all covered in a fantastic new book, The Great Withdrawal by Craig Smith and Dr. Lowell Ponte. Every American needs to read this book. Why don't you call now for a free copy of The Great Withdrawal? It's the simple truth you can trust.
The American Bible Challenge is back. Premiering May 22nd at 8/7 Central. Jeff Foxworthy is ready to play.
The whole family's gonna love it.
Kurt Franklin's gonna sway.
Are you ready?
And you'll see the Bible in a whole new way.
Don't I look chic? That was impressive.
An all-new season premieres Thursday, May 22nd at 8/7 Central, only on Game Show Network.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes and Google Play now.
Resveratrol, the ingredient found in dark chocolate and red wine, may not have the health benefits scientists thought. Experts have believed it helped fight heart disease and added years to people's lives, but a new study from Johns Hopkins couldn't find evidence of those effects. The study's lead researcher says there's more to healthy eating than simply one substance, and that the Mediterranean diet with vegetables, fruits, nuts, and whole grains, along with exercise, is still a good advice. Other experts say more research needs to be done on resveratrol. Well, get enough sleep or it could be very bad for your health. A new survey from scientists in Britain and the U.S. found that people on average are sleeping 2 hours less than they did 60 years ago. That can upset the body clock, and the lack of sleep can also lead to serious health problems, including heart disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, obesity, and possibly even a heart attack. Well, far too often we hear about deadly attacks or mass shootings at a school, a shopping mall, or a military base. And people often ask why. Why did they do it? As Lori Johnson reports, some medical experts believe that certain drugs could be behind these attacks.
Most violent outbreaks in recent years have involved guns, and new information indicates there's often another common thread: antidepressants. From Columbine to Aurora, the Naval Yard to Fort Hood, antidepressants have been linked to violence. For decades, psychiatrist Peter Breggin has studied this link.
That these drugs are causing agitation, anxiety, insomnia, hostility, aggression, mania.
Antidepressants work on the brain, thereby altering the way people think.
In addition to driving the person with this amphetamine-like effect, the antidepressants kind of do a bit of a lobotomy. You lose your empathy. You lose your caring.
In his book, Medication Madness, Dr. Breggin cites real-life examples of violence that could be blamed on antidepressants.
Of an engineer who was given Paxil probably to help stop smoking, maybe for some tension, certainly not for any mental disorder. And within a couple of doses, he drowned his 2 children and himself in a tub.
But not all doctors view antidepressants so harshly. The Cleveland Clinic's Dr. Karen Jacobs says without antidepressants, many of her patients couldn't even function properly.
They may not be able to work, they may not be able to interact with their peers, they may not be able to interact with their family. They're really isolated and not very productive. And you can turn a patient's life around by being able to find the right medications.
But she also recognizes the risks.
Educating your patient how to use an antidepressant, what to expect, not only the side effects, but some of the dangers, including making sure that you educate either a caregiver or another family member, is really essential to prevent some of the side effects or detrimental kinds of things that you might have read about in the press previously.
The American Psychiatric Association urges doctors to exercise caution when prescribing a certain type of drug, which includes antidepressants, saying their uses could be harmful, especially if patients aren't properly monitored or are taking other drugs. But Dr. Bregan says when it comes to emotional problems, counseling is the better treatment, saying antidepressants can make the situation worse, especially in young people.
The child who is already angry and upset and withdrawn starts to feel agitated, anxious. Hostility starts to increase, aggressivity starts to increase. The kid has no idea it's a drug effect. Even if you told him it was a drug effect, he might not believe you. He'd say, no, I'm just angry at my schoolmates. I'm just angry at my mother and father because it feels like it.
The Food and Drug Administration receives some of its highest number of violence reports from people taking antidepressants.
It happens often with a dose change up or down, or starting or stopping a change, because that's what jars the brain the most is the change.
So while antidepressants are some of the most popular drugs among doctors and their patients, they can sometimes lead to unexpected and even dangerous results. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Up next, an infamous Nazi doctor was trying to sterilize her, but then a miracle happened. See how this woman survived the Holocaust and how her son is saving countless lives today.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
One in 4 adults worldwide hold anti-Semitic attitudes, according to a new international survey. The Anti-Defamation League surveyed 102 countries, asking stereotypical questions about Jews. If respondents agreed with at least 6 of 11 stereotypes about Jews, they were labeled anti-Semitic. Laos had the lowest level of anti-Semitism at less than 1%, while the West Bank and Gaza were the highest at 93%. And in Western Europe, Sweden was the least at 4%, while Greece was the most anti-Semitic at 69%. The bizarre surgical experimentation of the angel of death, Joseph Mengele, are infamous. Among them was the sterilization of young Jewish women during the Holocaust. Saul Pitchen's mom was about to become one of those women when she was spared by a bomb and a miracle.
My mother survived the Holocaust, World War II. God has me serving him in the Holocaust of abortion here in America today.
Saul Pitchen has a heritage of survival. That heritage began in Nazi Germany, as Hitler's directive of the final solution was being carried out to eliminate the so-called Jewish problem: extermination.
My name is Germaine Pichot. I'm a Holocaust survivor.
In 1942, when she was a teenager, Saul's mother, Germaine, and her Jewish family were forcibly rounded up and put on a train headed for Auschwitz. After traveling without food and water for 8 days, the crowded boxcar arrived at the infamous concentration camp.
She got off the train. The Nazis took her mother and 5 sisters in that direction and to the gas chambers that day, and she went to Block 10, which was an experimental block.
I was scared.
There was about 300 young girls, young ladies, and what they did is they sterilized them, gave them shock treatments. So there was my mother, right around 16 years old, finding herself on the operating table. And here the Nazi doctor, Dr. Mengele, he personally operated on her, removed one of her ovaries, ready to remove the other one.
Saul says what happened next was a miracle.
The Allied forces started bombing. And so the Nazi doctor, along with the soldiers, ran for cover. And that doctor instructed the imprisoned Jewish doctor to finish her up, to remove the other ovary. And so he told her, he says, young lady, I've got to make an incision, but I'm not going to remove that organ. Yet I want you to do 2 things. One, I want you to hide your cycle each month. And secondly, remember me when you have children.
If his boy give my son Solomon Samuel, it's a promise.
Jarmaine kept her promise and did. Years later, Saul became her firstborn. He believes his mother's life was spared, so one day he could help spare the lives of others.
They were an unwanted people. Those unwanted people today are the unborn. Because of what my mother went through, she fought to live. That baby is fighting to live. If we don't take a stand and intervene as Christians, who will?
He's now a guardian for the unborn. As president and CEO of New Life Solutions, Saul and his staff provide support for women to carry their unplanned pregnancies to birth.
We got to continue to be the voice for those who don't have a voice. Here in the Tampa Bay area, 1 out of every 3 babies is being aborted. You know, the ultimate injustice is to be deprived of life.
The Pregnancy Center of Pinellas County provides free pregnancy tests, sonograms, ultrasounds, and a birth center, the first of its kind nationally, staffed by certified nurse midwives. They also initiate ministry in the moment of crisis.
They come in fearful, and they needed a ministry, an organization like ours that they could come to and see that they could have a support system that's right here to help them choose what's healthy, what's right, what is godly.
Jennifer and Phil Petrini needed reassurance about their pregnancy. They met with the staff to make a thoughtful and informed decision about the life of their son.
We really came in because we were panicking that I was pregnant, but it ended up being so that we could save his life. Just realizing that this was a life and a child and not just a mistake.
They're able to answer all the medical questions and provide that sonogram for that young lady. When they see their baby, 90% of the time they bond with their baby, and there they start the process of choosing life.
Both women and men benefit from post-abortion grieving.
We're telling them they can be forgiven and set free. They can move on with their lives. We're one of the few centers in the country reaching out to the men, helping them deal with their past abortion because they've not received that forgiveness that God has for them.
The center documents more than 2,000 babies birthed through their services. Estimates suggest many more at other locations that became more convenient for clients, who often come back to say,
"You were there for me. You were there for my baby. You're the ones who took a stand on my side when my boyfriend wanted to abort. You're the one, and I cannot thank you enough."
Saul Pichon, born from a Holocaust survivor, born to defend life.
We are praying for God to send in people who are hurting, those who are needing help, needing their lives changed and transformed. Let's change this culture of death back to a culture of life, to where God meant it to be.
If you're facing an unplanned pregnancy or need help dealing with a choice you regret, you can call CBN's prayer counselors at 1-800-759-0700. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Do you have an idea for an invention or a new product? Brian and Alice Jagosh, the inventors of the halftime drill driver, did. They invented a power drill attachment that lets you drill, flip, and drive in seconds. Brian and Alice licensed their invention to the company that brought you the Snuggie, and it's now selling in major retailers nationwide. Look for the Invent Help Caveman on the package. If you have an invention that you would like to try to patent and submit to companies for possible review and want free information on how Invent Help may be able to assist you, call now. Invent Help is America's largest inventor service company with sales offices in more than 60 cities nationwide. Call Invent Help today for free information. Our clients made a financial gain with their invention, but this is just their individual result. Brian and Alice's experience is not typical, as only a very small number of inventions are licensed or sold in stores.
For your free inventors information, call 1-800-559-8567. That's 1-800-559-8567.
If you had a choice between going bald and a full head of hair, which would you choose? Advances in medical science have resulted in the world's first and only permanent solution to hair loss.
Yes!
You wash it, you cut it. It's your own real, naturally growing hair. When it comes to hair restoration, no one in the world has more experience than Bosley. The results look completely natural and are affordable on nearly any budget. But the entire process can't be explained in 60 brief seconds. So to find out more about this clinically proven and permanent solution to hair loss, call now to receive your free no-obligation information kit. It'll answer all of your questions about hair loss and hair restoration. Plus, we'll also send you this $250 gift certificate just for calling. Every day you wait, you're losing more hair. So don't put it off any longer. You owe it to yourself to find out the facts. Choose hair. Choose Bosley.
Call 800-868-9957. That's 800-868-9957.
Finally today, CBN News has been reporting on the Benham brothers who lost their TV show after speaking out about their religious beliefs. And they aren't the only ones who have faced backlash for such opinions. Mozilla's CEO was fired for supporting California's anti-gay marriage referendum, Proposition 8. Phil Robertson was briefly banned from Duck Dynasty after comments he made about homosexuality. And Chick-fil-A faced protests after its president expressed support for traditional marriage. Pastor Brian Boyles is a friend of Jason and David Benham. He says stories like theirs should be an example to believers.
If you're only known by negative statements or negative actions, then you're only going to get a backlash. But what people need to see in us is that we're consistent in our faith of love. We're consistent in our faith of forgiveness and mercy and grace and serving, and we're helping the community. If a believer wants to know how can I make a statement or how can I stand up for my faith and not be demonized, we'll be consistent, not just giving statements on marriage or other hot topics, but be consistent showing the love that you're supposed to show to everybody.
CBN News wants to know if you think it's important for believers to stand up for their faith in this way. Connect with us through Facebook and Twitter. Well, that's it for now on CBN News Today. We hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day. God bless.